Hi, this is Brett Ingram, award-winning entrepreneur, and today I want to share with you 7 business lessons from the reality show Top Chef. So Top Chef, if you don't know, is basically a cooking show. The idea is they get chefs to come on the show and they all compete, and each week there are new challenges, and those challenges send somebody home and crown a winner. And eventually, as they whittle it down to the finals, there will be one person who gets the title of Top Chef and a big cash prize. It's funny to watch this sort of the evolution of the show, because when I first started watching it, they had a lot of very amateurish chefs that were sort of trying to make their name. They were hoping one day to open a restaurant, and some of them had worked for somebody famous or at a good restaurant or whatever, but a lot of them hadn't. Nowadays, it's evolved to a point where you have several James Beard award nominees on the show. You have most of them already have restaurants, or they've all worked for people that are really impressive. So the quality in general, just as a from a pedigree standpoint, has already improved a tremendous amount. That said, what's fascinating about the show to me is the fact that, well, first of all, I do like food. I like to eat. I actually like to cook a little bit too, sort of in an amateurish way. I mean, I'm not a great cook, but I enjoy it, and I tinker with different things. But I can respect and admire anybody who has the skill to do it, because I believe that the difference between creating something that is well cooked and has sort of the basics of a dish, which are things that I'm capable of, and taking sort of random ingredients and putting them in a situation where you could create something that tastes almost magical, I think is really as much of an art as it is a science. It's about understanding all the ingredients, how everything works together, all the different flavor profiles and stuff like that, and being able to create things. And I find the quality of the things they can make and the creativity that they have is phenomenal. I'm always astounded by it. And so I love the show. I've watched it for years. I think I've seen just about every season. And there's a current season going on right now. And again, it's the same thing. There are some clunker dishes here and there, but for the most part, the level and the quality of the food that people produce is remarkable. And I'm always blown away by that. But the other thing that occurred to me is that, there are a lot of lessons that we can actually take from Top Chef as business owners and as entrepreneurs that we can apply to our own businesses. A lot of the things that these chef testants go through are things that, as a business owner, they're things that we need to wrestle with too. And the traits that make someone successful in Top Chef are similar to the traits that we need in any other business as well. So let's talk about 7 of the lessons that we can sort of glean from Top Chef and put them into our own practice, in our own business, and our own entrepreneurial ventures. So the first of them is the ability to work under pressure with tight deadlines. Now, depending on what business we're in, this may or may not be a daily reality. On Top Chef, obviously, every single challenge, they start the timer. So every single challenge, it's not about how great the food you can make in unlimited time. It's you have 30 minutes or you have 2 hours or whatever. And so the ability just to function in those circumstances, forget about even the conceptualization of everything and all that kind of stuff. We'll get to that. Just the ability to get yourself to be motivated and focused enough to work under pressure with a tight deadline is a skill in and of itself. I think back to my school days, and I think back to test taking. And I remember there were always some kids. I happen to be somebody who was naturally good at taking tests. I didn't really panic. I sort of went in and figured out, okay, I've got this amount of time. And I rarely was in a situation where I really felt panicked. I know other people that actually worked hard. They prepared really a lot. Then they would go into the test and they would choke. The idea that there was pressure, the idea that there was a deadline in and of itself made them panic. And when we panic, our minds shut off. So the ability to work under pressure, the ability to embrace a tight deadline and have that focus us as opposed to panic us is a skill. and it's something that can be developed, and it's something that should be developed. And no matter what business we're in, again, whether or not we have actual deadlines that are like this, we all have times in our businesses where we need to sprint, where we need to get more done faster for one deadline or another, whether or not it's being imposed upon us or we're doing it ourselves. And so it's a really important skill, and it's showcased in spades on the show because obviously every single challenge is like that. So it's super impressive to see how fast and effective people can work. I remember in the early seasons, there were often times where people didn't get stuff on the plate. They forgot some of the ingredients. They weren't able to do it. It happens occasionally now, but more often than not at this point, people have sort of dialed that in. They've sort of figured out that you've got to get this done, and you've got to get this done in a time frame that's fast enough that you're not going to be trying to plate in, after the particular deadline ends, after the buzzer goes off. So working under pressure with tight deadlines is a really important skill for any business and any entrepreneur. Just the ability to do it, even if we aren't always forced to do it, is really valuable to cultivate and develop. The second thing is the ability to think strategically and conceptually. This is another thing that has me in awe of these chef testants, because the fact is they not only have the time pressure, but in addition to the time pressure, they're not given a recipe that they need to create. They're given parameters for something that they need to make, and then they need to come up with their own concept, and they need to think it through strategically to see, would I have time to execute this in a way that's going to represent what I can do, push myself enough that it's going to be a challenging dish and I'm going to get rewarded for that by the judges, but not so much that I can't execute it or that I don't get it done. Now, this is an area that you definitely still see more failures. There are people that overthink and they try to create too much. There's too much going on. And there are people that the idea that they came up with, there just was no way to execute it in the amount of time. That said, again, the vast majority of the contestants are able to do this in a really effective way. And when you combine this with number one, when you combine this with the time pressure, to think about it, to create a dish in your mind, to be able to execute that and create it is difficult enough, just based on whatever parameters. When you add onto that the fact that they're working under the time pressure also, and they need to be able to do it, then you can really see where the quality of someone's ability as a chef comes in. And this, when we relate it back to traditional or any other sort of global business sort of concept, the amazing thing about this is you can see the value, if you really sort of look between it all, of being an expert in your craft. Because the fact that they have such skill and knowledge about how ingredients work, about how flavors connect, about all the important things, the way that you cook things, the way that you prepare things, the way that the different techniques overlap, are the things that they're able to draw on. Part of the reason I would never be able to compete on that level of the show is that I don't have that background. I'm not an expert in food. I don't know all the cooking techniques. I don't know how all the flavors and ingredients work with each other. I don't even know half the ingredients they're talking about. I've never even heard of them before. So having a breadth of knowledge in your subject area, having depth of knowledge, having an understanding of how it all fits together is critically important, because you can see how it elevates your ability to work under pressure and your ability to be able to think strategically and conceptually, especially under pressure. Because you already have all the knowledge in here, it's just a matter of now creating a concept that works. So it's amazing their ability to sort of take a concept and then strategically figure out, am I going to be able to execute this in an amount of time? That's a fantastic and super important skill. And we should all want to be able to create that in our own business and whatever entrepreneurial venture we've got. Because if we can think conceptually about what works and strategically how to make that happen, that's super valuable to any entrepreneur in any walk of life. And by the way, I would venture to say that a number of these contestants on the show would probably be very good as entrepreneurs in any business if they have the ability to do this, because those skills are translatable. Yes, their background is in cooking and being a chef, but if they learned whatever other craft or whatever other business, they likely would have a good chance to be successful there too because of these other skills and traits. The third thing that we can draw from with Top Chef is the ability to adapt to our environment and the factors of whatever challenge we're facing. So, one of the things that the chefs always have to do is they're always given some sort of a curveball. Okay, today we're going to be cooking on an outdoor grill. Today we're going to be cooking without using X, Y, or Z ingredients. This needs to be completely vegetarian. Someone has an allergy to this particular ingredient. Whatever it is, they throw these things in on purpose. You have to incorporate this ingredient and combine it with this. You can only use, one knife, or you only have this ability. There's no freezers or whatever it is. And so you now have to take whatever concept that you've created and whatever strategy you were going to use to deploy it, and you have to be able to adapt it. Because sometimes these changes actually come after the challenge is initiated. We've seen it time and time again where Tom, or at the day it's Kristen now, who's the host, but it was Padma at the time, and they would show up at the flat, they would show up at the apartment where all the chefs are, and they'd say, oh, by the way, there's one more wrinkle. All that stuff that you did, well, you're going to have to do this or do that without it. They've already conceptualized their dish. They've already gone shopping. Now they have to make an additional change on the fly. That is an incredible skill as well, the ability to adapt to the environment and factors of the challenge. And if we relate that to any other kind of a business, first of all, our environments are always changing. The economic environment, the competitive environment, the technological environment, all of the political environment, sometimes the legal environment, all of these things are changing around us all the time. And so because of that, we always have to be willing to adapt. But the other factor that's sort of a little bit more focused on this is sometimes the immediate challenge we face is something different. If we have a particular element of our business that has taken a downturn, or there's been some new regulation or some new issue or whatever it is that now we have to overcome, that's something that we need to not only be able to adapt to the environment and competitive landscape as a whole, but also to whatever we're currently working on right now. And that's absolutely true in terms of what they're doing as well, because in every single challenge, they've got to be able to create the food that they want to create, but there are always some factors that are outside their control. So the ability to still stay focused, to still stay on track and on the course, and be able to execute it anyway by making some changes is a remarkable skill. And again, it's a really valuable skill for any entrepreneur in any business, in any walk of life. The fourth lesson from Top Chef that we can use in business is teamwork and cohesion. And they're the same, but they're also different. The first off, with teamwork, everybody kind of knows what that is, right? If we have a team, if you have outsourcers, if you have employees, if you have staff, if you have partners, we have to be able to work together in order to be able to pull in the same direction. It's hard enough to execute things and get things done, but if you're fighting amongst yourselves, you're disagreeing with what you're trying to do, that makes things infinitely more difficult. It's super hard to be effective and be successful if you're constantly fighting within your own organization, let alone fighting all of the competitive factors in the outside world. But in addition to that, sort of the twin brother or sister maybe of teamwork is cohesion. And we see this in some of the challenges like a restaurant wars or other things. So sometimes the teams actually work together well. They really do. They don't argue. They each have their own idea for a dish. In fact, this just happened in the restaurant wars we just saw. So I don't want to spoil it, but basically the idea is they worked together, they got along famously, but they each sort of created a dish that was in their own idea. There wasn't anything that tied all the dishes together. And in the greater scope of the challenge was to create a restaurant. Well, when you go into a restaurant, they don't say, well, we could do a clam bake for you, or you can have, hot dogs and beans, or we can make you an egg omelet. Like the idea is in a fine dining restaurant, there's a theme, there's a general idea, and the things sort of go together. They may have different options on the menu, but there's something that holds it all together. And so the idea is when they create this and they all work together really well, but they aren't focused on creating a product, an end result that makes sense to the customer, that's a problem, because they might all execute their own individual piece of it really well, but the customer is left confused. And in our businesses and in what we're doing, it's the same idea. Not that we're each creating our own product, but it's important that our support team knows what the sort of standards and what the code is for how we treat customers and what we want their experience to be like. If we know it, but they don't, they're likely to treat customers in a way that doesn't make sense. Customers are going to leave scratching their head. I don't understand. I thought it was, customer was always right and they love us. And then the customer support guy was like, oh, you know what? No, we're not giving any refunds or whatever. So it's super important that we have cohesion. We have a cohesive message and we have a cohesive offering to the market and to our customers. That's super important as well. Even if we're solopreneurs, there are going to be people that we deal with, and there's going to be the messaging that we're putting out to the market and to our customers. And it's important that there's cohesion with that. The fifth lesson that we can take from Top Chef is that we need to produce a product that everybody wants and would buy again and again. So we see various different levels of success and or failure with the dishes that are created. Some dishes are failures. Obviously, those are mistakes. It's something that the person took a risk and it didn't work out, or it's something that they thought, to their particular taste was good, but in general, the judges didn't like it. So there's a problem. But by and large, most of the dishes are good. But what separates a dish that's good from a dish that's great is when the judges say, this is something I, ate every bite of it. I wish I could have another one. I would come to your restaurant to buy this dish. I would eat this again and again and again. Those are all things that if you have your customers saying about your product, you're never going to need to worry about finding customers. They will beat a path to your door because they love your product. That's what we want to aspire to. Not, hey, we created a good enough product that people are willing to eat it. Then we're always fighting for customers. There's nothing differentiating us. And if our competition comes in with something better, we're going to be in trouble. If we have something that customers are demanding because it's that good, they're waiting in line. When I was in Montreal, I think it was Montreal or Quebec. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Montreal with my family. We had looked up restaurants, and there was this one deli that's famous for their meat. And none of us are huge meat people, just in general. And to be honest, when you looked at the actual food, it didn't even look that appetizing. But it was all the rage, so we went and we checked it out. The line was out the door. It was a 45-minute to an hour wait. They don't take any reservations. It's little tiny tables all jammed together in a diner-style place. We finally get in. The guy comes out every couple of minutes. It's only going to be a few more minutes. People start leaving. They usher more people in. We literally waited an hour. And when we got in there, we didn't really know what to order. So the guy said to us, do you know what to order? Have you been here before? We said, no. They said, well, this is our signature thing that most everybody wants. So we all ordered it. Again, got it. Thought to myself, this doesn't even really look that good. I took one bite and I was in love. It was some of the best food I've ever had. And my wife, who's even less of a meat eater, loved it. And my kids both loved it. My two sons were with me and they both loved it. And so the fact of the matter is, when you produce a product like that, you get a line out the door. And that is ultimately what it's all about. We want to create a product that's so good that everybody wants it and would be willing to stand in line to get it. The sixth lesson from Top Chef is that we need to perform consistently. Having one home run is great, and we can feel good and we can pat ourselves on the back, but that is not the mountaintop. On Top Chef, you can make 8 great dishes in a row. You can win 3 or 4 challenges in a row. If your next one is a clunker, unless you have immunity, you go home. And I give the judges credit for this. They actually do judge it on that exact meal. There have been chefs that have been far better than people that and have gone home first because the one dish they made that week was not as good. And I give them credit for not saying, well, in general, you've been better. No, the criteria is supposed to be this challenge, and they judge on this challenge. And we need to feel the same way as business owners. We have to make sure that we don't rely or get comfortable just because we had a good product or a good service or a good offering. We have to make sure that everything we produce is at the same level so people keep that image of us and we're burned into their mind as someone that they always want to do business with. And the seventh lesson from Top Chef is to always be learning, growing, and improving. One of the themes that comes up again and again and again from every chef that's on there, and I have to give them a lot of respect and credit for this, is they all have really great attitudes. Even when they get eliminated, they always thank the judges for what a great learning experience. They learned a lot, they made good relationships, they made the most of the opportunity, and it opened their mind to more stuff that they can grow, learn, and improve. And as a chef, it makes logical sense. You'd always want to be honing your craft. But I think it's really important in every business because, again, it's easy to get to a point where we're in operations mode, where things are going well. So we sort of rely on just trying to keep it going or grow it. And we don't focus enough on ourselves and continually improving ourselves as the entrepreneurs and the captains of the ship. We're steering it. So if we don't have the greatest direction, if we don't have the greatest tools at our disposal and the greatest knowledge, then we're limited in what we're going to be capable of doing. So it's super important to always be doing that. Those are 7 lessons that every entrepreneur should relate to and understand that they matter in every and any business. So the takeaway here is that Top Chef is a super entertaining show. I mean, I love it. And it's remarkable the dishes that the chef testants can create in such a limited time. It gives us a sneak peek into the restaurant business, which we can see is cutthroat and hard. But many of the lessons extend into any business in any industry. The ability to think quickly and adapt. The importance of creating a product so good that customers would want to buy it again and again. And the need to keep learning and honing our expertise in our craft are all very translatable lessons that we should all take to heart and embrace.